What 24%? Your child is gonna become a apostate. Your child is gonna become an apostate. 24%. What 24%? Your child is gonna become an apostate. Your child is gonna become an apostate.
One of the more shocking things that I've experienced over the course of those years are the number of young boys and girls who have openly declared their apostasy to me.
24%. What 24%? Your child is gonna become an apostate.
If I were to bring reasonable evidence that the Prophet Muhammad, that he was a true prophet, would you be willing to become a Muslim?
How about no, I don't buy your Allah. I don't buy your Allah. No, I don't buy your Allah. I don't buy you. No.
I don't like your Allah. I don't like your Allah. I don't like your Allah. I don't like your Allah.
No.
I like Tim Hortons way better.
No.
Chugging gallons of maple syrup.
No.
I like Tim Hortons way better,
No.
Chugging gallons of maple syrup.
How about no, I don't buy your Allah. I don't buy your Allah. No, I don't buy your Allah. I don't buy you. No. How about no, I don't buy your Allah. I don't buy your Allah. No, I don't buy your Allah. I don't buy you. No.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream today. I have some special guests with me that will be joining me in just a minute, but I wanted to say hi to everybody and welcome you to the live stream. As you guys can see, we're still traveling, and we're hoping that everything on DOC's end gets worked out fast. So if you guys could keep us in prayers with that, we hope that things, work out, and she'll, finish everything she needs to do, and the process, that she's going through will be, it's almost done, but we're just kind of one slight delay, and not on our end though. But yeah, if you guys could pray for us about that, and so today we're gonna let me see how I can bring this up. Okay, actually, I'm gonna bring up our guest in just a minute, but I wanted to also ask you guys to keep in prayer the people of Iran, and as they are being freed from this tyrannical regime. I want to congratulate all of the Shia mothers in Iran that are now free from this tyrannical regime, and we want to pray for them, pray for their freedom, pray that their new government is better than the last one. And we got a special stream today, and we're going to bring up our guests now. We got David and we got Anthony. What's up, guys? Welcome to the live stream.
Hey.
So this is going to be like a raw reaction from both of you guys. I don't think you guys have any idea what we're about to see today, but we're going to see the strongest evidence for Islam.
I have to say, I'm actually, seriously, I'm legitimately interested in this because they had their case for, all these years, scientific miracles and the miraculous dot for dot, letter for letter preservation of the Quran and so on. And all of that was exposed as complete idiotic nonsense and lies. Took a while because when you have people around the world all telling the same lie, and not enough people responding to it, takes a while to expose the lie. But we just kept at it year after year until it was exposed. But it's like, wait a minute, all of your main arguments for Islam from 10 years ago have been so thoroughly debunked that you guys don't even use them anymore. We'll still hear Muslims on the streets use them. Like Anthony, like when we were in Times Square, and they're still, no, there's only one Quran. There's only one Quran. They're completely identical. And it's like, where have you guys been? But you don't see the Dawah guys using these arguments anymore because they know they've been destroyed. And so I'm actually wondering, what is your case for Islam at this point? Because I don't know. I have no idea what your case for Islam is.
I did hear one thing. Jai told me Ali Dawah's fallback argument, at least one point that he makes. I don't know if he has others. I sure hope he does. Well, actually, I know he can't possibly have anything that holds water, but this particular one, goodness, if this is all he's got, how does that guy sleep at night?
Yeah, so it's Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawah and the Watcher and Sneeko and who's that new guy? Sunny something.
Faz.
Yeah. Is he like a streamer as well? Is he like a Sneeko kind of guy as well? I don't really know him. Is he? Not really sure his background, but he's there too. Apparently, I think at least that's how Ali Dawah titled the stream at least. And so they're all there. It's like an 11-hour live stream, and I have no idea how I stumbled across this one part of it because I didn't watch more than like 10 minutes of it. And I guess I just happened to click at like the right time or whatever. And Mohammed Hijab was just sitting down. Oh, no. What it was Sneeko was, let me actually show you guys what was happening before I tuned in. They were doing their prayers, and I want to see if you guys notice anything wrong with this. So let me put it on the screen. Here we go. Share screen. Okay, check this out. So they're doing their prayers. This is actually, then I was watching a little bit after this point, but so here they are doing their prayers. Mohammed Hijab, Ali Dawah in the front.
11 and a half hours of this nonsense.
Wait,
yeah.
That can't be the Warner though.
Because he's in the back.
No, because he doesn't have a phone in his hand.
Oh, yeah. So now this is something that came to my attention. Okay, so yeah, they're starting the stream. They're like, in another location, and then they're going like eating. They're feasting. Actually, they're fasting. This is the stream where that guy came up to them and he like asked to fight. He wanted to fight like the Warner and Mohammed Hijab and stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen that clip, but there's some Muslim guy who wanted to fight them. It's that stream. And so anyway, so they make it way back to their studio. This is Ali Dawah's new studio here. And so yeah, there's Ali Dawah, there's Mohammed Hijab, and Mohammed Hijab is leading the prayer. Now, this is something that came to my attention, and I want to know you guys catch as to why this would I want to know the chat. If you got the chat, if you guys can see what in this would be like for you guys, what would grab your attention, if anything at all, if you were watching this, because there's something that caught Ali Dawah's live stream's attention, and this is what they were talking about the entire time. And so I'll let people think about what that might be, but I don't know if you guys want to share any thoughts on this 11.5-hour live stream, if you guys have seen any clips of it or anything like that, or about it.
I'm just looking at their stupid outfits, man.
Yeah, they're pretty stupid. Yeah.
No, and really, like every single time I see this, it's like, we respect Jesus more than you guys do. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, that's why we constantly record and take pictures of ourselves every time we're praying to post them all over the world to show how devout we are. And it's like, are you kidding me, guys?
So I'm seeing the prayer mat. Some people are saying the prayer mat, maybe the shorts from Mohammed Hijab, maybe the shorts. Let me share the hadith actually. So take a close look at Sneeko and what Sneeko's wearing. And
is it their ankles are covered?
Yes, you got it. So there's a hadith here where Muhammad said, the lower part of the garment which goes below the ankle is in hell. So the entire live stream was just Ali Dawah's live stream. All Muslims, well, I mean, mostly Muslims, were all commenting that Sneeko, his prayers are not valid, their prayers are not accepted. He's gonna be going to hell because he is not covering. Oops, hold on. He's not covering. Because he's covering his ankles. So here's his live chat here. I don't know if we can. I think they banned a bunch of people, but for pointing it out. But yeah, because he's covering his ankles with his jeans, Muhammad said that he's he's going to be going to hell for that.
Well, I have to say, it looks like he accidentally put on the Warner's jeans. You know what I mean? Sneeko, what are you doing wearing the Warner's jeans, man? How did that happen? What was the chain of events that led you to being dressed in the Warner's jeans, and I can't see the Warner right now, but I hope he didn't accidentally like put on your jeans and have a Hulk situation.
He Hulk smashed them.
They might have been in a hotel situation and hurriedly had to get dressed. Couldn't see what they were putting on.
Yeah. So the Warner tossed on Sneako's pants real quick, and then Sneako's like, "Hey, those are my pants." And he's like, "I already ripped them. Just wear mine, dude." And Sneako's like, "What? I could fit my entire body in one of your pant legs. Just put them on, man. Just hurry up, or we're gonna miss the prayer. Everyone's gonna be watching."
So yeah, that's it. Covering your ankles is cover. Yes, it's so there you go. So Sneako got cast into hell for that from the Muslim side.
Well, his ankles at least.
Yeah, his ankles are in hell. But Allah's foot is in hell as well, isn't it? So he kind of maybe got some company in there. The hadith says that Allah, his foot's in the hellfire. So yeah, that's that. Now let's switch over to our what we're going to be covering today. The strongest evidence for Islam. So as Anthony said, there was one part that I did make him aware of because I wanted him to kind of show a pattern in the Bible that he told me before, and I thought that'd be really cool to share that. So I wanted to kind of prep him on that, like, hey, why don't we wait, what happened to the okay, Anthony's way on the top now. That's okay. All right, so yeah, so I told Anthony about that. I said, hey, if you want to get something together for this, and we can all review it together with David, and so here we are. So let's get started. So yeah, Mohammed Hijab, Sneako is on his phone, and they're giving their strongest evidences for Islam right now. So are you guys ready to be blown away by the strongest evidence for Islam?
Mm-hmm.
No. What's funny is that I've actually heard Jake use the same exact argument, and Jake is supposed to be like the metaphysician, and he's supposed to be this philosopher, really smart, really intelligent guy. And he used this same exact argument for his video. I think it was an earlier video that he did, and it was titled like "Why I Reject Christianity and Why I Accept Islam." And this was one of his arguments for Islam. So here we go.
Surah Bakar is the biggest chapter in the Quran. It's got 286 verses. Yeah, in the Surah Bakar wasn't revealed in one go. It was revealed over 2.5 years. Yeah. Now in the middle of Surah Bakar, it says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. We have made you a middle nation.
Yeah,
that's mentioned in the very middle of the middle of it.
And it wasn't like he said, it wasn't revealed one time. Yeah. Imagine you've got a screen, pixels are coming here and there, pixel, and then it becomes a picture. How is that possible?
Premeditated, but
How is it possible?
I'm telling you a lie. It's when you understand this point, this is the strongest evidence for Islam being true.
The strongest evidence for Islam being true.
If people understand and deep this point, it takes a bit of mental work. But this is the strongest evidence, bigger than the prophecies, bigger than everything.
Yeah.
Because this one shows you the Quran is like a pearl necklace. Each pearl is being added to a string, and when you add the string together, it creates a pearl necklace, right?
Yeah, pattern.
But it's like he said, patterns, bro. Yeah. The patterns could not have been predicted.
Yeah, even the.
So guys, Ali does about to give his next evidence, but I don't know if everyone caught that one. So in chapter 2 of the Quran, Surah Bakar, there's 286 verses. Okay, 286 verses. So what's the middle? I guess if middle means half, what's half of that? 143. Well, in verse 143, the word middle appears.
Well, I mean, that's not actually the middle because you have two. You split it into two. But what does he mean? Does he actually mean like if you counted all the words, the actual middle word, or just it's in one of the two verses in the middle?
One of the two verses in the middle. That's what.
Wait, that's it.
Mm-hmm. See, I thought when I first heard it, I thought that was it as well. I thought it was like if you count all the let's say there's like 3,000 and something words. I thought like okay, if you go to the middle word, like that would be the word middle. But that's not it. It's just the middle verse. Like
wow.
So this is what he's setting up as the strongest evidence.
Hey, did you know that at the beginning of the Bible it says in the beginning? It says beginning right there, and that's at the beginning. Oh my goodness. This is the strongest proof of Christianity ever.
And it actually is the beginning word, right?
It is.
In Hebrew, Bereshit is the first word.
So
dude, hey, listen. So So, Jai, you mentioned that the other day about the middle word in Surah Al-Baqarah. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I thought it was
That's
going
what I
to
was
be
referring
the
to.
middle word, and then I was wondering how textual variants are going to affect that in the Kirat that we have today, but also historically. I think in Ibn Abi Daud's Kitab al-Masahif, he said that there were over 200 differences between Abdullah ibn Masud's Quran and Zayd ibn Thabit's Quran. Just in chapter 2. There were over 200 differences just on Surah 2. So I was thinking, okay, I'm guessing that's going to affect some word counts there. But if it's just there is no actual middle verse. There's 2 verses in the middle, and one of them has the word middle, and he thinks that's the most powerful evidence for Islam. Hijab, it's going to be a bad year, buddy. It's going to be a bad year if that's what you guys are down to.
Well,
And
now think about this. So,
Yeah.
Jai mentioned to me, and I thought it was Ali Dawah that you said made this point. I think
No,
he
Ali
said,
Dawah makes another point. He's about to make another point. So they're kind of like related. Like they're
oh, okay. So, but I didn't hear it from Hijab the way he just put it. But the way he put it really just takes all the air out of this, doesn't it? He points out that Surah 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, was not a single composition. It's something being worked on over 2.5 years. Give me 2.5 years, I can write something that has the word middle in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that just, it seems to me, it would be more impressive. It's sort of like, if you look at a rap battle, right? You have 2 guys, let's say they have a week to write a battle against each other. That's not as impressive, right? I mean, it still might, resonate with people, and it might be interesting. But if somebody does a freestyle and manages to do something really effective, that's all the more impressive, right? But this actually is a good thing to point out to people. We often point out how certain surahs fall into the Meccan period and others into the Medinan period, and that's relevant to interpreting them. But as scholars know, it's not exactly like that. There are surahs that are basically Meccan or basically Medinan, but you have a bunch of verses that are being revealed at a later period that are being inserted back into earlier surahs. This isn't because they're like pearls being put on a string. It's because people are pointing out problems, right? People point out this verse is too burdensome. This verse is confusing. What does this mean? And so Muhammad has to update Allah's perfectly clear and exhaustively detailed revelations, right? So this isn't impressive at all.
No, you're not impressed with this one. So they're trying to make it like a case here, and when I was first hearing it, I was like, this has to be a joke. But he's actually saying, no, this is actually, like he says, this is stronger than the prophecies. This is stronger than anything you can come up with. This is the ultimate, proof of Islam, that it's like, I don't think he's saying like just this argument, but like this kind of like they're about to make a case of like all these other stupid points that are just like this. So they're starting with this. And I thought, like David mentioned, I thought the same, like when I first heard that, I thought the same thing. That I looked it up though, and it's not that like the middle word or the like, again, like imagine if you have like 3,000 and something words, and you go to like the very like middle or whatever that would be, halfway through, you find the word middle there. Like it's not that, it's just the verse that is in the middle.
There is no middle verse, so there are 2 verses because it's an even number. So there are 2 verses in the middle. So one of the 2 verses in the middle contains the word middle. It says you're a middle nation.
Yeah, and so middle nation, exactly. And so this doesn't appear anywhere else. Like you don't have the word middle appearing anywhere else in any other chapter, in like the middle of any other chapter. So this is not like some sort of like pattern that you clue on to this and then you see all these other things. It's just like this standalone thing that we're supposed to be impressed with. Now, so my initial reaction was like, okay, well, like if you have familiarity with like Hebrew or you've studied Hebrew before, you know that how some prepositions work. They're just kind of like attached to the words. So you might kind of think like, okay, if you're doing a word count, would you in the beginning, Barashit, like do you take the bait? Is it part of the word, or is it like you treat the preposition as like something. So there's so many different ways to count words, and because especially when you have the prepositions attached to the words. So that's one issue with like with the Arabic as well, just like with the Hebrew. If you're doing a word count, it's like, well, how do you actually count these things? Because you can do it like you can count in units, like these are like attached letters. So there's one unit, but is it one word? Well, it depends. You want to like the conjunction, like the wow, or Hebrew like the vav, like and that just attached to the word. So is it a separate word, or is it, because in English you would say those are two words, and such and such, and would be a separate word, but in Hebrew and in Arabic, you just kind of attach it onto the word, so it looks like it's like one word, but it's actually two words. So I was thinking of going that direction. And then I looked it up, and it's even stupider and even worse than I thought it was. so it's like but what messes that count up? Another thing that I was thinking was like just like the Bismillah messes that up, because some schools like the Maliki school, for example, they don't count the Bismillah as a verse. Some schools count it as a verse, some count as a chapter divider, but it's not counted as a verse amongst all Muslim schools. So if you
you don't have the miracle for some Muslim schools.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because if you take out the Bismillah as verse 1, then you do have an actual middle verse.
Yeah.
And it would be Surah 2, verse 143, right? Or 144? It would be 144.
Yeah, right.
So that's so it'd be Surah 2, verse 144, which doesn't contain the word middle.
Doesn't have the word middle. Yeah.
Oopsie. So only certain schools have this powerful this best proof of Islam.
Now, one other thing, Jai. So you kind of said this, I think, or at least it's relevant to this. The part of the problem with all this sort of thing is it's arbitrary. They count such things when they occur, and they ignore them when they don't. Right? You're bound to get. I mean, if you write a book, you're bound to get certain patterns in it inadvertently without trying.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have
like Shakespeare and stuff. They know with Shakespeare and other works.
Yeah. But I mean, like, in other words, if the word middle occurred in the middle of the whole Quran, wouldn't they be jumping on that? They would. But notice it doesn't occur there, so they're not. Right. They say it occurs in the middle of Surah 2. There's problems with that, but it's important when it's there. So it's almost like they're looking to see what's there, and then they're saying, "Look, it's a miracle that it's there." Like, as though, I mean,
guys. In other words, if all you're doing is okay, let's go to every single verse in the Quran and see where the word middle occurs, and let's see if we can find it close to the middle of a surah, and then we'll just point to that one and say, "You see, it's a miracle. How is this possible that the word middle could appear in one of the middle verses of one of our 114 chapters," and so on. If that's how you're operating, you can do that with anything. You could find those kinds of mathematical patterns anywhere. And hey, you know what it reminded me of when Anthony was talking? This was several years ago, but one of my sons was taking judo classes, but the judo school was like 30 minutes away. So I was driving him to judo class and so on. Anyway, earlier in the day, before we went over there, I went to 7-Eleven, and there was a Jamaican woman in there. She was just getting a Slurpee or something like this, but like she was completely decked out in like Jamaican stuff. Like she was almost like dressed up as like a flag. Everything on her was decorated and stuff.
Like Rasta and
like everything was totally decked out. Like almost like it's before your time, Jai, but there was a guy like the Ultimate Warrior and stuff back in the day when they would have tassels hanging on this, like she was completely covered in like tassels hanging down and stuff like this. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, so that was earlier in the day. Then we go to judo, and on the way back, just right after we leave, my son says he's thirsty. I said, okay, we'll stop at a 7-Eleven over here, which is 30 minutes away. So we go in there. The same woman is walking out after getting a drink, and I'm like, what is she freaking following us? Is she following us? What's going on here? And because she's 30 minutes away from before. And then what I thought was, that sort of thing probably happens all the time. You just don't recognize people. You just don't recognize people. But this woman you recognize because you know she's completely decked out. And that reminded me of like Andrew Tate's dad. Andrew Tate's dad would Andrew Tate was telling stories about his dad, who was really, really weird, but like had super turbocharged brain in certain areas, but he would remember like numbers and stuff like that. And they'd just be driving around. He would say, that car's following us. Well, why? Because that car with the same license plate number was behind us a couple days ago. And it's like, guess what? That probably happens all the time. We just don't, normal human beings do not remember all the license plate numbers. So, if you're a person who does, then it's probably going to drive you crazy because you're gonna notice it when it happens and think there's this big conspiracy against you. But the point is, guys, yeah, there are coincidences going on all the time. If you spot them and fixate on them and then build a case out of them, not gonna work out very well.
Yeah, it reminds me of I remember I was studying like SAT vocab words and stuff, and or you learn a new concept, you learn a new word, and you try to incorporate it in your vocabulary, and then all of a sudden you start hearing it all the time, and you're like, wait, I just learned this word, but I'm hearing it all the time. It's like this illusion that it's actually documented. It's called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, and it's like this when you learn this new thing and all of a sudden you start hearing it everywhere, but it's like it existed before that, but you just didn't catch on because. So it's like when you start learning something you're looking for, you're not necessarily looking for it, but it's like if you are looking for something, especially it's gonna seem like it's everywhere. And so I think like that's what these guys are kind of doing. They're kind of just they're trying to find like who in the world said look for the word middle in the word middle, and then you're just kind of like looking for a pattern like there. But once you like set out for it and you start looking for it, I mean, it only appears one time, not all over the Quran, but it's like, oh, now this is like the best miracle for Islam. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, let's continue on. Ali Dawah is about to bring up one up now, and we'll see how this goes.
But it could not have been.
Let me back it up a little bit. Hold on, let me back it up a little bit. Even on the Warner sense.
Notice how insistent he is. He's so convinced of this.
Yeah.
Even the word orbit.
Hold on, let's go back.
The picture. How is that possible?
Premeditated, but I'm telling you.
Let's back it up a little bit.
Every single time.
Exactly. Now here's the thing. Like, I'll give you an example. Yeah, this is a simple example. It's been used many times, but I'll use it again. Surah Bakar is the biggest chapter in the Quran. It's got 286 verses. Yeah.
Oh, I want to say biggest chapter in the Quran today. Right? There's sources that say that Al-Ahzab and other chapters were actually longer. I think I remember. I think I have a source on this. Even Surah Tawbah is that chapter 9. It was even longer or just as long as well, according to some sources. Yeah, that's one tradition.
Ubay ibn Ka'b said Surah 2. I mean, said Surah 33 used to be as long as Surah Al-Baqarah.
Yeah,
and so
isn't that
I don't even understand the relevance of it being the longest. So the longest chapter has one of the middle verses containing the word middle.
I'm not actually. I don't know the significance of that either, because if you had the word middle appearing in like a shorter chapter, they would still say it. They'd be like, "This is a miracle." Yeah. So. I see a lot of people in the chat saying, "Where's DOC? Where's DOC?" Thank you guys so much. She really is touched every time you guys asked, wherever she is. I did mention before we started though that we're traveling right now, and we're in like a process of doing certain things. So we are waiting on outside of our control for certain things to go through before we can travel back to our home. And so we're just kind of waiting. So keep us in prayers for that, guys. And thank you guys for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let me go ahead and state it a little differently. Guys, sometimes people have stuff to do and they don't want to announce it all over the place to help like anyone who wants to complain and throw monkey wrenches and stuff. They want to give all the details that people can use. So maybe quit asking and just trust that they got stuff to do right now. Okay. Maybe something like that. No, would you tell us? Tell us where is she? What is the exact location? Please tell us right now. We need to know this. What the heck, man.
There you go. That's the David Wood translation.
Dox her, so we know exactly where she is. Dox her. The heck, man.
All right, so that's the David Wood translation. That's the ahruf of David Wood. All right, guys, let's go to
Okay.
Hijab.
Surah Bakar is the biggest chapter in the Quran. It's got 286 verses. Yeah. In the Surah Bakar wasn't revealed in one go. It was revealed over 2.5 years. Yeah. Now, in the middle of Surah Bakar, it says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. We have made you a middle nation.
Yeah.
That's mentioned in the very middle of the middle of it.
And it wasn't like he said, it wasn't revealed one time. Imagine you've got a screen, pixels are coming here and there, pixel, and then it becomes a picture. How is that possible?
Premeditated, but I'm telling you, right? When you understand,
pixels having the word middle, and it's not even in the middle verse because there is no middle verse unless you take off the first verse, unless you take off the Bismillah, like some schools do, and then it's not even one of the middle verses. It's not the middle verse. And this is their greatest proof, and they all well, good point, it's powerful.
But what do they think an artist does? Have you ever seen those people that make pictures out of dots? Right, they make a bunch of dots, and then suddenly it's an image of somebody. That's exactly how they do it. Right? He's acting like this is something incredible.
It reminds me. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Comedy Central Dawah, he was talking about like a train. He's like, could you guys imagine?
Hey, whoa! Not in
the water.
Don't talk about trains, man.
Not in the water. I know it's a Dawah guy, but it wasn't in the Warner sense type of train. But he was talking about how, guys, look at this train. Look at how complicated it is. Could you imagine something creating that? And we're like, huh? Do you think that trains like came out of the heavens or something like that? You don't think humans didn't create trains? And he was trying to make a point out of that. So it's like Ali Dawah was like the same. He's like the same. He's like, how is this possible? It's impossible for this to happen. So yeah, that's a clip from Comedy Central there. All right.
Is the strongest evidence for Islam being true.
Yeah.
Hey,
if people understand the deepness,
strongest evidence.
Just pause it right there. I just wanted to point out, guys, you've got the argument. Oh, look, the word middle appears in one of the middle verses of this. This is the proof. This is the best proof. I guarantee you, if you go to a play by Shakespeare or something like that and find the word middle in the middle of it or something like that and ask them, does this now convince, how much evidence is this that this is the divine word of God? They would say absolutely none. It wouldn't be the slightest bit of evidence. All you have to do is make it an argument for anything else. Suddenly their reasoning ability clicks on. They go, that is completely stupid. How dare you use such a stupid argument? Because guess what, guys? If you use their methods, you can go to all kinds of books and find these kinds of things.
Yeah, and think about, you mentioned Shakespeare, so compare the Quran. Hijab's going to say it's like stringing pearls on a string, right? None of us would look at the verses of the Quran and think those things look like pearls, and certainly not compared to something like Shakespeare. It's more like a piece of jewelry gotten that you get from a Dollar General or something like that.
It's like a crap charm bracelet.
Yeah. Okay, so I think Ali Dawah is going to give his example now, because now they're like getting excited because they're seeing like Sneeko or whoever this Sunny guy is. And I noticed that Warner, even though this is what all Warner does, you'd think he'd have like a bunch of these stupid like Dawah like one-liners like to add on to these conversations. He's as far as I only watched like a few minutes of this. A lot of this is going to be new for me as well. But the Warner doesn't, as far as I'm aware, doesn't chime in at all. And
he's
you
praying
see-
back there. Can't you tell?
Well, based
got
on
his
what Malik
phone.
says, he's almost
how he prays.
certainly high right now.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Well, and David's video showed that he prays on his phone or has his phone in his hand and is texting while he's supposed to be praying. So I'm taking it that he's doing dua right now because he's got his phone back there.
That could be, yeah.
Point. It takes a bit of mental work, but this is the strongest evidence, bigger than the prophecies, bigger than everything.
Yeah.
Because this one shows you the Quran is like a pearl necklace. Each pearl is being added to a string, and when you add the string together, it creates a pearl necklace, right?
Yeah, pattern.
But it's like he said, patterns, bro.
Yeah.
The patterns could not have been predicted.
Yeah, even the word,
They could not have been predicted.
even the word orbit. The word orbit, when you divide those letters, like they're like
It's like orbiting, yeah.
like mirror. No, it's like a mirror. It's like a mirror. Like each word.
Palindrome and stuff.
Yes, palindrome. Like it's bro. You can read it either way. And not only that, even
Hold up,
about
hold
Joseph,
up.
Yusuf alayhi salam.
Yeah, I'll put this up on the screen. What he's talking about here.
Hold up. So he's saying the Arabic word,
Yeah, I'll show you what he's
like
talking about.
not something special in the Quran. It's the Arabic word
Yeah.
is a palindrome.
Yeah, this right here. If you read it, the correct way, or you read it backwards, just like like you said, you can come like this exists in every language. It exists in the Hebrew Bible as well, by the way. It exists in Greek. It exists in English. He's saying that, like you said, this is not specific to the Quran. This is just something in Arabic. These three words right here. If you read it one way, it's read the same, or read it backwards, it's the same. He's thinking this is some sort of miracle. Like this is, again, these are not just like, they're not just like sitting down and they're saying like, oh, like these are things that we can say in Dawah, like, it can impress people. They're saying these are the strongest evidences. This is the strongest case for Islam. We've been waiting to hear this for such a long time because we're thinking like all their arguments are dead. They buried all their arguments. They did it themselves.
Guys, his argument was that the Arabic word for orbit is a palindrome.
Yeah.
This is proof that Islam is true. So, I mean, just think about this. I mean, like if you were the word mom, oh, it's the same thing backwards. The word wow, oh, it's the same thing. The word dad, oh, it's the same thing backwards. Race car spells race car backwards. Oh my goodness. This means that NASCAR is the divine race of Allah because it spells the same thing backwards. Then you even get like the sentences. There was a show about the construction of the Panama Canal. They had us watch it in like middle school, but it was called A Man, a Plan, a Canal, Panama. And if you spell it backwards, it's A Man, a Plan, a Canal, Panama. The whole title was a palindrome. That proves that it was a documentary from Allah. There's even someone who wrote an entire book. I remember reading about this years ago, but there was someone who wrote an entire book that was a palindrome. Now, keep in mind, if the entire Quran is a palindrome, this would be their main proof that it's from Allah.
It's like just a set of three random words. Well, randomly, right? And like that's the proof now.
Which, and you'd have to factor in all the things that decrease the probability of it, because if Muhammad's doing it over the course of many years, well, then he's got a lot of time to tinker with it, right? Again, I mean, it's going back to the point of Surah 2. It's one thing to say he just spontaneously uttered the words of Surah 2. Another thing to say, as they did, this is being crafted over the course of 2.5 years. Muhammad's going back and taking care of problems, adding verses and so forth. Less impressive after all that, if it were impressive to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, again, guys, this is. I don't even think I would be doing this stream if they didn't say this is the strongest evidence for Islam. Like, you might just say, "Oh, guys, either just like dumb things Muslims are saying or whatever, like the Dawah guys are saying." But this is the strongest evidence now.
But by the way, if you could pull up my slides real quick, I'll just show you. I just want to show you a few of them. I got a whole bunch more for down the road. I'm assuming you're going to tell me when it's most relevant.
Okay.
But I just want to,
right?
I just want to show people this real quick. I want you guys all to behold the proof of the inspiration of Judy Blume's book, the one in the middle is the green kangaroo. Notice the picture. There's a kangaroo in the middle. Now, before you tell me that's unimpressive, notice that the word middle is in the middle of the title.
I looked at that as soon as you put it up there, I started counting.
All right, that's all I wanted to show you for now. I've
just for now.
far more stupendous coming down the pike, but for Ali Dawah, add that to the Quran.
Oh, guys, we found a lost surah of the Quran. Anthony just discovered it for us. All right.
In the Quran, and Allah says towards the end of the verse, and to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and you could have not known about this information, because this is way before. This is Joseph, bro. This is way before Moses. So there's information in the story. You know the story of Moses and when he went to the well, his brothers betrayed him. You know when you break that story that no man Ali Khan, bro.
Yeah,
the story, brother, mind blown. I'll send you a video. Mind blown.
Things, it's good.
The way he mirrors Numan Ali Khan. Numan Ali Khan.
He does like things very clear English.
Bro, it's
Numan Ali Khan, by the way, this is the guy who has all these, like, he's got these sex scandals or sexting scandals. I forgot exactly the.
You're gonna have to narrow it down because they kind of all have that now.
Oh yeah, you're right. So he was looking for like second, I don't know, second or third or fourth wife, I don't know. And so he's got a bunch of like, he's like this famous like speaker, Pakistani American, Dawah guy who goes around doing these talks, very famous in the Muslim world. And he does all these like speeches about like these like what they're talking about right now. And this is like his specialty. He tries to like kind of like get you in by saying these like things that tries to make you think or tries to like blow your mind, and he's trying to do other things with the woman afterwards. But so that's who he's referring to. So kind of interesting reference there from Ali Dawah.
impossible to be from a man. Impossible.
How do you spell his name?
N-O-U-M-A-N.
So what are they relating?
He's got this thing.
Are they just pointing to him, but they didn't really give his? I've heard Numan Ali Khan before and have observed different sorts of things that he does where he pretends like this word in Arabic has so much more meaning and all that kind of stuff. But did they actually spell it and I missed it? Spell it out?
No, I didn't get it either. I don't know what the argument was there.
So they're just punting. They're basically saying, okay, if you weren't impressed by middle in the not so middle part of Surah 2, then go look at Numan Ali Khan. Right? The proof is out there.
Exactly.
Where you it's called
he's really good.
It's called Bayina. It's called Bayina. If you sign up if you want to increase your knowledge for the Quran, bro.
He's got lots of things on free online, like where he's going through the chapter.
Yeah,
he's
bro.
Going through, like, wallahi, it's the best.
I've go
seen.
through Joseph, Surah Yusuf, bro. Mind
The whole
blown.
thing is like symmetrical, but
Mind blown.
way.
Yeah.
Do you know what else though? Like, let me give you a practical example. Yeah, there's 114 chapters of Quran. 114. We used to do this.
So this is like a card trick. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like card tricks. So this is kind of like a card trick. Now watch what Muhammad Hijab does.
Hey, and did you know there are an equal number of odd verses and even verses? How is this possible with 114 chapters? So many chapters. How could this be?
So check this out now.
Let me give you a practical example. Yeah, there's 114 chapters of Quran. 114. We used to do this when we used to
in the universities, remember?
Yeah, all right. So give me
I'll give you.
Give me two numbers that are next to each other from 1 to 114.
Yeah.
72, 43.
No, not next to each other.
Oh, I'm sorry.
72 and 73.
72, 73, yeah.
All right, so 72 is chapter Jinn. Yeah, it's called Surah Al-Jinn.
Yeah.
Chapter 73 is Surah Al-Muzammil. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, these two surahs here, chapter Jinn, قُلْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِنَ الْجِنِّ, this one, and Surah Al-Muzammil. If you look at the beginning and the end of each surah, the beginning and the end of each chapter, it links.
Yeah.
So, for example, every chapter of the Quran, the beginning lexically and structurally links with the end of that chapter. So, in the beginning of Surah Al-Jinn, Allah mentions that there were a group of jinns, a group of, like you want to call them, jinnis or demons, or you know what jinns are, yeah?
Of course.
That they were listening to the Quran. There's good jinn, there's bad jinn, yeah? Near the end, you have the same exact theme, okay? There's good jinn, there's bad jinn, there's jinns listen to the Quran, etc. Now, imagine, jinn listen to the Quran, good jinn, bad jinn. Go to Surah Al-Muzammil. Ya ayyuha al-Muzammil is talking to the Prophet, and it was one of the first things that were ever revealed, yeah? And that is talking about the Prophet ﷺ receiving revelation, which is the Quran, and it's talking about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ reciting the Quran. So in the beginning of Surah Al-Jinn and the end of Surah Al-Jinn, there's recitation by the Jinn of the Quran. In the beginning and the end of chapter 73, there's the recitation of the Prophet Muhammad and the Muslims of the Quran. So you see, the theme just continues going up. You might think, okay, well, this is a bit of a coincidence, but this continues throughout the whole Quran.
Can I give an analogy?
So before you guys comment, I remember having a conversation with Anthony before about how you can tell, like in the Torah, for example, like the ending of this one and the beginning of this one. So that conversation came to mind. I was like, this is what I was thinking about Anthony before. I was like, okay, I would love to see Anthony react to this, because I've heard you not say like how he said it, but you've linked it to where like this is how you can tell, this is how God's like pattern of like revelation, where like this thing links to this thing, which links to this thing. And so he's trying to do it with the Quran. I didn't see the connection there, like how you've done it, but I'll let you guys give you guys' thoughts on that.
Well, one thing I would say is that it was fairly common throughout the ancient world. Now, with respect to the Quran and the time it's being given, it's somewhat different. But when you think of earlier times, when you have scrolls rather than codices, right? Things aren't being bound together between two covers, but they still might belong to each other, right? So you might like think of the Torah, the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. That's all from Moses. And in fact, in the Bible, it's never referred to as 5 books, though it is. I'm just saying that's not ever how it's spoken of. It's always just talked of or spoken of as the book of Moses or the law of Moses or the book of the law. Well, if they're on separate scrolls, how do you indicate what belongs to what and in what order? And this was a problem throughout the ancient world. So like if you had tablets, you have a bunch of tablets, how do you know what order to read them in? Now, in some cases, it'd be kind of obvious. If there's a narrative, then you follow the flow of the narrative, but that wouldn't always hold up, right? In some cases, it would be confusing. So the way they would do this typically is they would try and end something a particular way and then pick up on it in the next thing. So at the end of the Torah, for example, Moses, or it reminds people of the coming prophet like Moses that Moses predicted. And then it picks up with Joshua, and he's told to meditate on the law of Moses day and night, right? Well, when you go to the end of the prophets, of which Joshua's book is the beginning, you have the reminder of the law of Moses and the necessity of adhering to it. But then the Psalms begin by talking about the blessed man as the man who meditates in the Torah day and night. It echoes Joshua, right? Anyway, this is a very cursory way of putting this, but you can do this with all the books, and scholars don't think this is stretching or anything. There's some pretty strong stuff that goes into this, but some of that, I mean, the point isn't necessarily that this proves inspiration. There might be other stuff to add to this that could contribute to a case for inspiration. It just has more to do with observing that there's design here, right? And you could do this with anything, and you would have to do it with certain things. And so I'm just pointing out that, you know, if you do have this sort of thing with respect to the Quran, all it would show is that somebody is deliberately arranging things. It's obvious the Quran is not in its given arrangement, right? It's not in the arrangement of when these things were supposedly revealed. It's being compiled. And it's being compiled in a way that, by the way, looks really suspect when you have some disputes over the conclusion of surahs, right? Think of, in fact, you guys had a couple of, submitters on the other day with you guys?
Yeah.
And you know that Rashad Khalifa tried to get rid of the last 2 verses of Surah 9 because they didn't fit his mathematical pattern. Well, those verses were actually very disputed. They couldn't find a sufficient number of witnesses like they could in other cases. And so Rashad Khalifa capitalized on this to say, see that these are added. But the point being, though, is that you have these indications that maybe there's something going on when somebody's compiling this, sort of, you know, creating endings, crafting things. But I would have to look at the particular cases. He just gave one example, 72 and 73, and I'd have to see how much that really works.
It doesn't.
Oh
I
yeah,
suspect
yeah. No,
he's just making
that's what I
stuff
was.
up.
What was he actually saying? So he's saying that Surah 72. It begins with talking about the jinn, and then what was the amazing thing?
Yeah. So this is like a card trick that they would do to like university students. That okay, 114 chapters in the Quran. Pick any number you want to, and then like the number before the number after it. So like 53, 54, 50, 53, 54, whatever. And then he tries to find like something in the first verse that links to the ending of the next chapter. So he's trying to say that this one, starts out by saying that the jinn,
they're reciting.
Yeah.
And then Surah 73, it's talking about
he's receiving revelation from or something like
and reciting. Yeah.
It's like it's like he's trying so hard. It's like
Now I noticed, and this is why I'd be interested in like looking at this actually. So it seems to me like he's shifting. At one point he says this occurs at the beginning and the end of Surah 72, but then when he's talking about Surah 73, he mentions that this occurs near the beginning. Right? Why suddenly add that modifier? Just it sounds suspicious to me.
Yeah.
In other words, eventually you get to a point where it's talking about something somehow related, through 3 steps.
Yeah. Now, there's something that I wanted to share about this, and then I know that you have some things that you want to share as well. So I wanted to share. There's something that let me just make a little.
I just started going through some other surahs. This is complete nonsense, man.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. I was
like, why don't I look at some of the short ones? So I looked at 101 and 102. And 101 starts off with the calamity. What is the calamity? And what shall apprise thee of the calamity? So it's about a calamity. And then I go to the end of the chapter. Keep in mind what he's making a claim, so I'm testing it. And then I go to the end of the next one. And it's then you will be questioned that day about the blessing.
Yeah.
So how did this go? Oh, well, calamity would be like the opposite of blessing. Oh my goodness, it's a miracle.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was thinking we could do as well. We just like blind, like just like a test to see like, this is like a new claim. So let's see if it works. And you just tested it. It doesn't work. But I was thinking what came to my mind was in chapter 9. He's doing something like if he cracked the code, like, okay, this is how you can tell this chapter is linked to this chapter and it's linked to the next chapter, which is linked to the next chapter. And it's like this big chain from like chapter 1 to 114. And so obviously this gets messed up when you have like different companions who have like different surah orders, which is something that we know as a fact. I even have that somewhere.
Ibn Masud had different surah orders.
Yeah. I have the quote here on Islam QA. Yeah, he had different surah orders. Islam Q&A, they have a quote here from Ibn Faris. He said that the Salaf differed as to the order into which the surahs should appear. So Ali had his. He started with chapter 96, right? The one that says Iqra. That's what he started with. And that was his number 1, right? And so I'm saying 96 because I'm thinking of like Uthman's numbering, but that wouldn't be number 96. That'd be number 1. Then you have like Ibn Masud, for example. He started with Al-Baqarah, then An-Nisa, and then it goes. So then he goes on, and then like you said, the one of Ubayy as well. He has a different. So this is one way you could talk, like think about this as well. It's like, okay, so if that's true what he's saying, and this is the strongest evidence for Islam, then why didn't the companions clue on to this? And so if you ever ask the question, like, why doesn't chapter 9 in the Quran, why doesn't it have like the in the beginning, like not the in the beginning, sorry, I'm thinking of beginning, middle, in the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful, the Bismillah. Why doesn't it appear in chapter 9? Well, the scholars have different views as to why that is. There's many different opinions. But the strongest one, according to Shanqiti here, says that the strongest reason it's linked to a hadith. But some of the other views were that, chapter 9 was abrogated, the beginning was abrogated, so that's why it doesn't exist. You don't have the Bismillah because it's been abrogated. And then another view, this is what I was thinking about earlier. Another view where chapter 9 used to be equal to chapter 2 in like the length, but it got abrogated or something happened to it. Al-Qurtubi gives a view, etc. But there's a hadith that's actually linked to this. So think about it. He's saying like, no, this is something that like there's a pattern. We worked it out. Well, the companions didn't have this pattern. So here's the link to the sunnah.com link. Ibn Abbas said what he said. He asked Uthman what induced them to deal with al-infal, like the chapter 8, with as one of the al-mathani, the verses of the, so the chapters of the Quran are like, they're like different sections. So the mathani is like the first section, and then you have like the ones of like 100 no, sorry, you have the 7 long ones which are like over 100 verses. Then you have like the ones that are like middle length verses, and they're linked in all these different ways. So he's asking, why did you put chapter 8 with chapter 9? Why did you put those in that order? And he says, without you join them together without writing in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. So why did you link these two together without putting the Bismillah? Like, why did you do that? And then you put it amongst the 7 long ones. So there's 7 long chapters of the Quran, and he's saying, like, why did you put chapter 9 there? Now watch what he said. Uthman said, over a period, he goes on this long story, goes on to what how Muhammad would like tell them about these things. And he says, so because Allah's messenger was taken without having explained to us whether it belongs to it. So there's some companions who thought that chapter 8 and chapter 9 are one surah. Okay, that's why there's no Bismillah in between. It's one surah. He says, for that reason, I joined them without writing the line containing in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and put them among the long surahs. So this is saying that the companions were just kind of working this out. Like Muhammad wasn't there to tell them, you put it here, you put it there, you put it there. So they were just kind of working it out. Is chapter 8 separate from chapter 9, or are they like one chapter? Or are there 2 different chapters? Or you have all these other views, like did the Bismillah just get abrogated or something like that? So this destroys his like card trick, because how would you be able to, how would your code or your trick work, your pattern work with chapter 8 and chapter 9 if the companions of Muhammad himself didn't even know if this was one long chapter or if this was 2 separate chapters? Or they don't know what was going on there. And they didn't know if the beginning was abrogated, because remember he said it works with the beginning and the end. So they're thinking like, okay, is it abrogated? What's going on? So yeah, that's something that I was thinking about. And then I asked Anthony if he could prepare something as well on this to show, patterns in the Bible. If they're impressed with patterns, well, they have to be consistent with that. So let's see. Let's see if they are.
Indeed. I'll go through this kind of rapidly, but quickly, I'll just say this. Muslims also add other things to this sort of thing, right? You mentioned patterns. So one thing they'll do is they'll mention mathematical patterns. One of the favorites is, of course, that generated by Rashad Khalifa, the so-called Miracle 19. But they do other things. They'll point out that the number of times the word night appears and the number of times the word day appears. I think it's 365, right? So that's a miracle, right? 365 nights and days in a year. And so, I've heard this sort of thing. I did a debate with Shabir Ali once where I knew he would probably bring this up somewhere. And I actually, so I pray anytime I'm going to do a debate, but this was like the only debate where I prayed and I said, Lord, please have Shabir use his favorite argument. I was thinking, I just so want to tear this apart. And it was so funny because not only did he use it, he made it his entire case, which means, he's putting all his eggs in one basket. If I refute this, the whole thing's done. So he's going through all this stuff that's supposedly a mathematical miracle. And I made the argument, number one, this would prove the Bible's the word of God. Number two, I could use it to prove the daily newspaper is the word of God. Number three, I could also use it to prove that I am a prophet. Now, I just did this right now as you were talking. I just thought about doing a little exercise here. So I looked at the date, right? The date is 3/5/2026. Now, if you add up all the numbers, 3, 5, 2, 0, 2, and 6, it comes out to 18, which is a multiple of 3, right? 3 times 12. If you multiply it, 3 times 5 times 2026, it comes out to 30,390, which is also a multiple of 3. Whenever you have numbers that all add up to something divisible by 3, then I mean yeah, like here you have 30,390. Notice there's 3s and 9s in the number, so it's obviously a multiple of 3. It's 3 times 10,130. I also notice you normally go on by Jai. You don't have any other additional name that you use, which is of course 3 letters. David Wood, that's how he appears online. That's 9 letters, 3 times 3. So I am on with 2 men who are obviously inspired. Everything lines up. They ought to admit you guys are prophets. If you take my name now,
hang on. I mean, just as Khadijah convinced Mohammed that he wasn't possessed, he was a true prophet. I mean, Anthony just convinced me that Jai and I are true prophets.
See, now here's another thing.
And you've got a case that's just as good as their case for Mohammed.
Yeah. Now, going back to the arbitrary thing where I was talking about how they will count things when they occur and ignore them when they don't. Yeah. Now, notice if I wanted to add myself into this, Anthony Rogers doesn't work. That doesn't, that's not a multiple of 3. But if I add my middle name, Anthony Joseph Rogers, now suddenly that's a multiple of 3. So notice, what I would have to do though, I would ignore the inconsistency that I'm only going by your name, Jai, and not taking what would be your full name, right? Or David's full name, including his middle name. This is the sort of thing they're doing when they go through the Quran, they rummage through it and they look and say, hey, here's a pattern, right? Ignore everything that's not there. It's sort of like, I just read it earlier today on another topic where it says, 2 things are the same as long as you ignore all the differences.
Yeah, right.
And that's basically what they're doing, and it looks impressive to you. But now what I'm going to show you is actually a feature of the Bible, but I'm not going to make a argument for inspiration from this. But I would say this is evidence of deliberate design, right? Okay. If somebody wants to make some kind of argument from this, they would have to do something beyond what I'm talking about. I'm just showing that there is a pattern at times in the Bible like this, which creates an Islamic dilemma for them, right? If the Bible has this feature, they got to believe it. But if they believe it, it refutes the Quran, right? So here we go. This is, we recognize that the chapter divisions in the Bible are artificial. They're not part of the text. Moses didn't write 1:1 next to the first verse of Genesis, right? We added that later. When you actually break down the literary unit, if you're looking at the actual section of Genesis that comprises a unit, it's Genesis 1:1 to Genesis 2:3. So notice these are the 3 verses that conclude this opening section. This is 2:1 through 3, and it's about the 7th day. So the whole first section is about the 7 days of creation, right? So obviously 7 is the relevant operative number here. Notice that in this concluding section, it uses the word 7th, right? By the 7th day, God completed. On the 7th day, he rested. God blessed the 7th day, right? So clearly 7 is the terminus. This is the concluding section. But what's interesting is if you look at the clauses in which the word 7th appears, these clauses in Hebrew all consist of 7 letters or 7 words. Okay. Now, that's not true in English, but it is true in Hebrew. These are part of clauses. So you have the word 7th in 7 word clauses 3 times over. Okay. Now, interestingly, if you look at those 3 verses in Hebrew, the first verse has 5 words. The second verse has 14 words. The last verse has 16 words, which equals 35 words, which is 7 times 5. Sound like a coincidence? Maybe you'd think so, but if you take all the verses from 1:1 to the end of this section, it comes out to 469 words, which is 7 times 67. If you look in this section, the word God appears 35 times, which is 5 times 7. The phrase "and God made" appears 7 times, obviously a multiple of 7. The phrase "and it was so," a multiple of 7. God saw that it was good, a multiple of 7. The direct object marker, which isn't translatable, it's just a feature of the Hebrew text, occurs 28 times, which is 4 times 7, which, by the way, are the letters Aleph and Tav, the first and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet. When God says he's the first and the last, the Aleph and the Tav, that's what it's referring to. Heaven or firmament occurs 21 times, 3 times 7. The word earth appears 21 times, 3 times 7. Here is the first verse of Genesis. Okay, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim va'et haaretz. Notice it consists of 7 words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So that's obviously a multiple of 7. If you count the letters, there are 20, or excuse me, there's 28 letters that comprise these 7 words, which is 4 times 7. If you just look at the first 3 words, which form the subject of the sentence, in the beginning God created, that comes out to 14 letters, 2 times 7. If you take the last 4 words, which are the predicate of the sentence, naturally, these come out to 14 letters, 2 times 7. If you take the 3 nouns in the sentence, Elohim for God, Hashemayim for heavens, Haaretz for earth, you have 14 letters, which is 2 times 7. If you take the remaining words, it is also 14 letters, which is 2 times 7. Okay, so that was pretty quick. I could continue doing that. It's just, off the charts. But here's one that most people haven't heard before, so this might be interesting. This is Psalm 67. It's known as the missionary psalm. It's a prayer for God's salvation to go to all the earth. If you look here, you'll notice it has 7 verses. Already, this is looking interesting, isn't it? Maybe that's not so significant. It just got 7 verses. But the first verse has 7 words in it. The last verse has 7 words in it. Now, the second verse and the second to last verse don't have 7 words, but it's the same number of words. So it certainly looks like a pattern, doesn't it? Same thing is true of the third verse and the third to last verse. They both have 6 words in them. And then these 2 verses, by the way, 3 and 5, are actually identical in Hebrew. It's a repetition. This all puts the focus on the central verse, which has 11 words, and it's talking about all the peoples praising God. But watch this. If you add up all of that, it comes out to 49 words, which is 7 times 7. So 7 verses in the psalm. First and last verse have 7 words. All the words in the whole psalm are 49 words, 7 times 7. Now look at the psalm again. There's something interesting. You notice how the central verse juts out. Any Hebrew person looking at this would naturally think of this thing. What does that look like? I think Jai knows what I'm driving at. What does that look like, Jai? Kind of looks like one of these, doesn't it?
Menorah.
A menorah. and this is why Jews refer to this as a menorah psalm. And they have, you could find this sort of thing all over the internet where they have different kinds of artistic renderings of this. But what's interesting is if you look at the first word of Psalm 67, it's a prayer for God's light to shine upon them or with them.
Oh.
So the very psalm itself is talking about this. And the idea is they want to be a light to the nations. And so they're praying or petitioning to this end, right? So what's the point? Well, I got to say, this, if this is the, well, first of all, this just dwarfs everything we just heard from these guys. But, am I going to make an argument that the Bible is therefore inspired from that? Now, I would say this is a product. It is God's inspired word. But, the idea that you could so easily jump from this to therefore it's God's word, I think is, requires considerably more to get there, right? It's not something surprising if it's God's word, but it's not necessarily sufficient of itself to say, therefore, this must be the word of God, right? Psalm 67, it just shows literary craftsmanship. When you can show this sort of thing, there are other ways to try and press this further, but I'm just saying, this of itself, I wouldn't try and press as proof. But if we're comparing it to the sort of stuff we heard from these guys, my goodness, right? This blows the Quran out of the water.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of when you shared that. It's like, this is, if you take what they say and you compare it to what you just said, then you have a lot more going for you in your argument. Would you say it's like I've heard people say, like for Matthew 2:23, for example, like he shall be called a Nazarene, like he's from Nazareth, called a Nazarene, that this is like a fulfillment. It's a pattern, like ultimately goes back to the branch, the one that the prophets speak of. That's why it's said in the plural. But it's more of like, this is like, you wouldn't use that in the same way you use Isaiah 53, right? Right? So are you thinking it's a kind of like, it's a pattern, it's true, it works, but it's not, you wouldn't use it like as an argument like what these guys are doing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I if somebody wants to use it in an argument, I'm just not ruling out that somebody could figure out a way to roll this into an argument. I just don't think of itself it's sufficient, because while this is impressive, right, I don't think I could do something like this. I mean, when you think through, like, let me give you an example of why this is astounding in some ways, because if you look, some of the things you might think, well, that would just naturally occur. Like if you look at Genesis 1:1 through 2:3, you've got 7 days. So some things would just naturally occur 7 times, right? Like the phrase, and God saw that it was good. Mm-hmm. You'd think, well, that's just naturally going to reoccur. But the fact of the matter is, if you actually look at the text, it doesn't say that every day, and it was good. There are 2 days when God doesn't say that, and 2 days when he says it twice. So it's almost as if the pattern holds irrespective of what would just naturally occur, because it's not just naturally occurring. It's as if it's deliberately there to keep the pattern. But could somebody do this who's working really hard at it? Yeah, I mean, but it just, the more you get this sort of thing, the harder you begin to think this looks. Like, I don't know that I could do something like this in English, or how long it would take me. I've never tried to do it. Mm-hmm. But, there are more brilliant people than me, mathematically oriented people. I like math, but I don't think I'm a mathematical genius or anything. So I'm just saying, by itself, I don't think this is like some argument. Okay. But besides that, you have to be careful. You'd have to have a sufficient amount of this sort of thing for it to start mounting up to something like that. Because, again, going back to what we were saying before, you can find mathematical patterns all over the place, right? I shared with you the book before, Bible Numerics by Oswald T. Alice, in which he shows that there's all kinds of interesting things you could do with the date of the Declaration of Independence and its correspondence with certain historical, realities pertaining to that event, right? 1776, if you add it together, or if you add the first and last number, you get 1 + 6 is 7. So you got 3 7s in the word, right? If you add them all together, you get 21, which gives you a multiple of 7. You could do this sort of thing with other stuff. How much is it going to take to impress you?
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know what's coming next. So if you guys want to just keep watching this until we get bored of it, or if you guys but what I was thinking was, like, if you think of in Christianity, the big picture of like what we're doing here is, in Christianity, all of our hope, our faith is in the Lord Jesus Christ and what he did on the cross and his resurrection. And so our faith is in the resurrection. Like, that's the ultimate proof of our faith. That's what Christianity is based on, is the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. And so when you ask a Christian, like, why are you a Christian? And they say, well, the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ, like, that's the ultimate proof. Like, if you wanted to attack something and you wanted to say, like, this is like, what's the core tenet of your faith? What's the core thing? And you wanted to attack it, you'd have to attack the resurrection. So that's like what we say is that is the core of Christianity. But they're actually saying, like, the strongest evidence of Islam is like, actually, like, the word middle appears in the word middle of chapter 2. And it's like David said, it's not actually in the middle either. It's just in one of the two middle verses. So when you, and I've always thought this with Muslims as well, it's like when they think like they just give evidence for Islam versus the evidence for Christianity. I think it was IP just did the other day. He had Mike Lacona on, and they were talking about the resurrection, and they kind of graded all the different theories for the explanation power that they have for, you know, and they like ranked them like kind of like a tiers of like, this is what this one would rank, this is what this one would rank, and you just always come back to all the evidence points to the resurrection. And then I think like for Muslims, like when they're offering evidence for Islam, this is the kind of stuff that we get. The word middle appears in the word middle, or you can't write a chapter. You can't rap like Allah can rap, or you can't do this. Or you can't, like, it's like very like low tier argumentation, but that's what their whole faith is based on. So, all right. So you guys want to hear some more, or what should we do?
I hope they've got something better than the word orbit as a palindrome. How's this possible? It's a miracle.
Yeah, let's see.
Analogy for the viewers is like, it's like a Pink Floyd album where it's like every single, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but at the end of every song,
he's pointing out how a Pink Floyd album will tie together so that it's basically like one long song.
Yeah, he's about to refute them.
Wait, so he's talking about someone who did that intentionally. A band intentionally, like, is that what he's talking about?
Did you say he, as if Pink Floyd is a guy?
I don't know who this is, who he's talking about.
Jai, we're gonna have to listen to some songs here, because you can't be rolling with me, man, if you don't know the basics, the most basic of basics of classic rock. No, Pink Floyd is a group, but yeah, their albums like Dark Side of the Moon kind of run together as like one long song, even though it's completely different songs. They're all connected.
Oh, okay. All right.
Pink Floyd is the group, man. The group.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so we'll have to listen to some of that together, like familiarize myself with that. But so that's obviously it's intentional, right? And so he's trying to say, it's kind of like Central Dawah talking about the train thing. He's trying to use it as an example of like, can you think of how complicated and how complex a train is? You need this piece to work with this piece and this thing to work with this thing. Can you imagine any human creating this? And it's like, dude, it's a train. Like, you're not talking about like a human brain or like a human eye or something like that. You're talking about a train. Like, and of course, God even gives us the brains to create a train, but it's like a train is a creation from that. Like, but anyway, so he's using an example like that and saying that this is like the
think about the Warner and Adam Saleh and Sneeko running a train on a girl. I mean, how's this? You know, do you believe that can just happen in nature, or is that by design?
So somebody in the chat said, "Hey, Muslims, leave those kids alone." David will catch that. You still need to hear.
Yeah,
Pink
you won't,
Floyd.
Jai. So, like, Jai, seriously, you've never heard like another brick in the wall? We don't need no education.
Yeah, I mean, I if you say songs, like even the reference that Anthony just said, I've heard these things. I can't tell you like the band name or anything like that. So I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll get you up to speed, man.
Yeah, we'll get you up to speed. All right. So Pink Floyd. Is that Sunny, by the way? This is the Sunny Phase guy or whatever his name is. I think that's
throughout the whole Quran.
Can I give an analogy for the viewers? It's like a Pink Floyd album where it's like every single, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but at the end of every song,
music is haram.
Yeah, it's a cyclical structure. Yeah, exactly. Every surah has a cyclical structure.
Exactly.
Just like Pink Floyd.
Only Allah could do this, just like Pink Floyd.
So they just likened the Quran to Pink Floyd. So Pink Floyd did something like the Quran then.
Every single surah. But you know what? Someone would say this is very subjective. It's not. You know, it's actually measurable. You know why?
Oh, it's measurable. Okay, so I this is all new to me. So I guess we're gonna hear how this is not subjective. This is objective. Let's hear it.
It's measurable. All you need is a ruler. You bring your ruler and you say, okay, let's measure this. Yes, look at this. I'm putting the Quran beside this ruler. Yes, this is the proof.
All right, let's see.
But it's not just the themes in the beginning and the end of each chapter that connect.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the chapter was not revealed in one go, for the most part, a lot of the big chapters especially were not revealed in one go. It's also the letters. The letters. So, like, for example, you know how, like, you have some words that are, there's more consonants than there are vowels. Some words have more vowels than there are consonants, yeah?
Out on the left.
So the beginning and end of each chapter has letters that are similar to each other.
Gotta go smoke a little, you know what I mean? Got a little smoke a little. This is wearing off a little. Gotta go smoke a little. Gotta get the appetite up, you know. Ramadan.
He's like, I gotta be high to listen to this. Oh man. Oh boy.
The next has themes that are similar to each other. And those two chapters that are coupled with each other usually have themes in opposition to each other. So, for example, in chapter 55, chapter 56, chapter 55 is Surah Al-Rahman. We were just about to recite it, but I don't want to. It talks about the people of heaven and the people of hell. But it emphasizes the people of hell more. And then in Surah Al-Waqa'ah, which is the next surah, it's the same thing, but it's in reverse, exactly reverse sequence. Now with AI, one of the things I want to do for Sapiens, bro, we want to show, we're using actual analysis, how symmetrical the Quran is.
Oh, they're actually going to argue this stuff.
Yeah, they're gonna use AI to basically detect patterns, at which point we will just pick other works and have AI do the same thing and
put it like Harry Potter or something in there, or like Oh man. So he's letting us know what he's gonna do, guys. So for those of you guys who like stay on top of what the Dawah guys are up to, this is the new Dawah argument.
Do you know? I don't want to curse on your stream, Jai, but this actually has a name in psychology and philosophy and so on. It's called Brandolini's law, but like when actual researchers use it, they call it the bullshit asymmetry principle.
Okay.
This like Candace Owens is like the ultimate. She's like the gold standard of this. The idea is it can take you 2 seconds to spout some complete, I'll say nonsense, just make something up and spout some complete nonsense. It might take a long time or even be impossible to refute, right? So if I say, Jai, you're being funded by Qatar to do something. Like, how does someone like that I could say that in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
If you wanted to respond to it, no, I'm not being paid. That might take you longer. Now that's you. That's if you were trying. Suppose I said it about someone else. Suppose I said this guy is being funded by Jews or Qatar or something like that, or Russians or China. Suppose you just say that. Well, if you wanted to actually look into it, investigate, and find out if it's true, it might take significantly longer than it takes to just toss it out there, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you look at Canada, she's like, oh, and you know, here it's like a new theory every week, right? And then by the time people respond to that, she's like 5 theories ahead, right? Yeah. You can never catch up. You can never catch up. Dawah's like that, right? Here's our argument. It's the perfect miraculous preservation of the Quran. Okay, that it only takes a few seconds to say the Quran has been miraculously perfectly preserved, dot for dot, letter for letter, and so on. You could say that in a few seconds. If you then spread that, it took us decades to refute that when we had all the evidence on our side. But you can put out that nonsense so quickly to people, whereas the refutation actually takes, looking at Quran manuscripts and so on. And so most people, in the world don't know the difference don't speak Arabic and can't tell the difference between the manuscripts and so on. So it's like, it's significantly more difficult to refute nonsense than it is to just put it out there. But that's what these guys do, man. Look at this scientific miracle. Okay, we refute that. But there's this other scientific miracle. Okay, we refuted that. Okay, here's another scientific miracle. Okay, we refuted that. Oh, but you've ignored this scientific miracle, and we refute that. And then this goes on for years until they just abandon the scientific miracles argument. And it's the same with all their arguments. And it's always, well, okay, everything we just spent 10 years arguing was all a complete lie. But now we've got this new thing that you need to respond to. And so now it's going to be, look, we had AI find these mathematical patterns in the Quran. Okay, you could do that with anything, but they'll be able to put that out there real quickly.
Yeah.
And the response, and that will go out to all their fans. We don't have just easy access to all their fans. And so it might take us years to respond and completely destroy this idiotic nonsense. But by the time we do, if the same pattern holds from the past, they'll be onto some completely new idiotic nonsense. But that's what Dawah is. It's coming up with new lies that take seconds to put out there and might take years or decades to respond to, because the lie, especially among Dawah fans, the lie spreads almost instantly. You put out a lie, just like the entire ummah starts running with it. Oh, look at this, it's a miracle. And, it takes a long time for non-Muslims to reach all those people. And so that's is a crap situation, man. But I mean, he's sitting here announcing it. Like, okay, all our arguments from the past have all been proven complete nonsense. They've all been proven lies. But guess what? We've got more coming out. This is what we're going to work on at the Sapiens Institute. We're going to put out more complete nonsense that will be impressive to people who are the victims of 40 generations of first cousin marriage.
The new strongest evidence. Yeah. I've seen that happen, especially in like the comment section. Muslims will post, you start seeing the back and forths, and then like the Muslims just copy and pasting like stuff from like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and whatever it is. And the person that they're responding to is not doing that. They're actually like taking their time to actually research these things. And I'm thinking like this stuff's been debunked so long ago, and they're like, it's just a way. It's just some of that stuff is just going repeating stuff that's already been debunked. So once they catch up to them, and that they actually get it to the point where they can't respond back, the guy just brings up 10 more arguments that have already been debunked anyway. So, but yeah, it's like a constant cycle of that. And
if anyone's watching that and you're wondering, oh well, gosh, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with people who just put out new lies, and then every time you expose the new lie, they come up with another new lie? Like, how do you deal with that? Well, the goal is that eventually more and more people catch on to the fact that these guys do nothing but lie, right? It's like with Candace Owens, right? It's like, if she can put out her new deranged theory, and lay out multiple new deranged theories in an episode, and it might take you a couple of weeks of like going to people and finding out what was really said and looking up clips and stuff like that. By the time you respond to it, she's put out multiple new episodes, and each one of those contain multiple new crazy theories and stuff. Like, how do you ever catch up with that mess? Well, you just hope people eventually catch on. Okay, she's just making up tons of stuff like it's a sport. And that's what you hope people eventually realize with Dawah. Now, the problem is, in all these situations, some of these people have very loyal fans and so on. So, yep, you just take some time, hard work. We got work ahead of us.
Yeah. I just noticed we got a bunch of super chats. So let's go through some of these real quick, and then we'll get back to our video here. So hold on, let me think. Is there the right one here? Okay, yeah. They're trying to one-up Logic by being later than he is to start his stream. Oh, okay. So is he live right now? No, he's not live on a Thursday. I don't think he's live today. But okay, so that's at the beginning of the stream. We were a little late. We're trying to one up Logic. Okay. That's funny. Is that Sam Shamoun's studio? God bless you.
What, the ones that these Dawah guys are in?
Yeah.
Sam doesn't have anything fancy like that. Come on.
That's a new thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's Sam.
Sam doesn't have a super dope studio like that.
Yeah, it's a
but yeah, Sam doesn't have those Chinese produced prayer mat bucks coming in. Hey, Anthony, don't know if you heard that, but yeah, apparently Jai's known it for a while, but I just found out yesterday. But you've seen Ali Dawah selling his prayer mats?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Turns out those are made in China.
And
the Chinese government taxes businesses like that. So Ali Dawah with his prayer mats, he's not only building his awesome studios, he's actually funding the Uyghur genocide.
Yeah, that's what's going on. And guess what? How we became familiar with it was because he explained how he even started working in China in the first place. So I think it was I don't remember when Muslims scam each other, and he talked about how there were these Turkish Muslims he was working with, because he's Kurdish, but like from the Turkish Kurds, so he has some sort of connection to Turkey. So he thought, oh, I'm gonna work with my Turkish Muslim brothers. That's what he's thinking, and they ended up ripping him off, like scamming him like crazy. He caught on to that. These guys, they copyright striked a couple of his videos because he was still using their prayer mats when he was like their logos on their prayer mats. So we did like this whole thing, like exposing how these Muslims, like they not only are trying to scam you, they're also scamming each other. And then he talked about how they had like 2 copyright strikes on them, which if you guys don't know about copyright strikes, you need 3 copyright strikes and your channel is taken down unless you can, get one of them or get one or more removed. So he had 2 copyright strikes at one point because Muslims, not because people fake copyright striked him or people were going after him. No, it was because there was a Muslim organization that didn't want him to use their logo on the prayer mats because he stopped working with them because they were like doubling or some kind of like crazy number the price. So because of that, he had to work with this company in China. And like David's pointing out here, the Chinese government is not friendly to Islam, and they're not friendly to the to the Uyghur Muslims, and so Ali that was funding that by working in China. Is what David is pointing out there. So yeah.
Well, I is in the middle of the word China, which might be sufficient grounds for working with them.
There you go. I'm gonna crack the code. 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish is more convincing than the Quran.
Dr. Seuss.
Yeah. Jai, with that background, you need to shout occasionally, Allahu Akbar. Yeah, I don't know why the Muslims aren't screaming Allahu Akbar. Well, actually, they were praying earlier in the stream, so you hear them saying Allahu Akbar throughout. We got a new member. Thank you so much for that. Welcome to the 24% crew. This sounds like numerology, and I think that's, I can't see what that emoji is. I think it's like a eye, like the Illuminati eye, motivation, and it's supposed to be
innovation.
What's that? Oh, and that's,
I think it's supposed to be innovation.
Oh, innovation. Oh, innovation. Oh, okay, and it's supposed to be sinful Islam. Oh, okay, yeah. So they're pointing out that this is something that none of the early Muslims did or used as like arguments for Islam. So this is like innovating in a way. Oh, that's an interesting perspective there. When he says this is the strongest argument for Islam, he means all other arguments have been trashed. Yeah. So this is what they're
guys. You could have the strongest argument for a completely false position.
Yeah.
Right. You could take any idiotic position on the planet. You can have the strongest argument, which would be a terribly, terribly, terribly weak argument, but it might just be the strongest by comparison. So when he's saying this is the strongest argument. Okay, that tells us more about all the other arguments than it does about why we should believe in Islam. Tells us that all your arguments are pure garbage if your strongest argument is this sad and pathetic.
Yeah, if we were arguing that Warner is intelligent, one argument for that might be he has clothes that he's torn, right, while wearing them or something. Another might be that he was carrying a book once, right? We saw him in New York. He had a Quran in his hand, which might suggest that he can read. Neither one of those are good arguments, but I would think holding the Quran might slightly edge out the ripped clothing.
It's like it's like when we go over like the Hafs being a liar, one of the narrations says like Hafs was a liar, but he was like the best student of Awesome. So it was like, so it's like well, he's the best student, but he's a liar. So it's like, what does it say about the rest of the students? Like, if their best student is a liar, it's like, but the other guys are, what are they guilty of? What have they done worse than lying? So, so this is what they're left with. This is what they're left with. These these arguments here. Is it okay for us Christians to mock the death of Khamenei? On Sunday, I posted the scene from The Naked Gun where Frank fought the Ayatollah. This is part one. There's a part
that was a different Ayatollah.
I captioned shocking footage of the death of the Ayatollah. One brother asked if it's okay to mock the murder of a person. Am I in the wrong? I know there's
using a Naked Gun clip for a horribly evil terrorist. Like I also don't. I tend to not mock the deaths of people, but point is, I don't know. He's pretty evil terrorist scumbag. So if you wanted to, and there is one exception. I tend to mock the death of Muhammad specifically because it's, what the Quran says and then what happened and so on. He's eminently mockable. So yeah, I have to say, I'm not aware of some like real clear Christian claim that would say you can't use a Naked Gun clip like for that purpose. What do you think, Anthony?
Well,
you know the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, for one, I don't tend to mock people dying, even though I will say in this or that instance it's just, right? So in this case, the question would be whether it is just or not, right? The way the question's formed is it uses the word murder. I'm not coming down on that. I'm just saying if there was just cause for going in there and doing this, then it wasn't murder. It was a judicially justified thing. As far as mocking it, yeah, I would have reserve, generally speaking. We're not supposed to celebrate the death of the wicked, though there are exceptions, right? There's certainly exceptions in the Bible when God's judgments come in the book of Revelation, when it talks about Babylon being fallen, all the people of God are going to rejoice. It's there looking at God definitively and decisively doing away with all evil. You don't generally see that, right, of particular individuals throughout the Bible, people gloating over it. But yeah, I would say it's not normal, but I wouldn't say that it's never done.
Yeah, I agree that the norm should be like Proverbs 24 talks about don't like rejoice when your enemies fall, don't be happy when they stumble, you kind of thing. So that kind of theme. And then like Anthony, you mentioned as well, like God doesn't take joy in the death of the wicked. Doesn't rejoice. Thinking of the exact wording in Ezekiel, it's slipping my mind right now, but yeah, or it takes no pleasure. God takes no pleasure in the death of the wicked. That's it. Yeah. So then like so yeah, you got to kind of wrestle with those Revelation verse and these other ones. But I think as a norm, you don't want to do that. So I would say like you're asking about it, and I think your conscience may be kind of like. You might be concerned, so I would just maybe stray away from it until you get clear kind of answer from the Word of God, and any sort of consultation, whether it's through this or through other people you want to talk to about it. But definitely, pray about it and meditate on the Word of God and the passages that we mentioned, and see where you land on that. Hold on. We brought a CRV and started seeing CRVs everywhere. Oh yeah.
I'm assuming it means a car. Honda CRV.
CRV and started seeing CRVs everywhere. Yeah. That's the phenomenon. It's like you get this new thing, you learn this new word, you learn about this new concept or whatever, this new thing, you have this new thing, and you start seeing it everywhere now. Just interesting kind of illusion that exists. Always a joy to hear from Anthony. In Sydney, Australia, they are still using perfect preservation and scientific miracles. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, and guys, they're going to keep on doing that until more people are exposing it. So everyone who's watching this, all comes down to you guys. Jai could make the most brilliant video that's ever been seen. That does not get the information into the heads of people whose heads are being filled with complete nonsense. That can include sending people the video, sharing the video, liking the video, all kinds of that stuff. All that helps, but it usually comes down to people talking to Muslims and then saying, "Oh, really? Scientific miracles? What do you think is the best one?" And then going and finding the response and sharing it with them.
Yeah. I was saying that the other day as well. Like, this is, you guys mentioned in New York, like you guys heard this just recently, like preservation and stuff. And I was saying, I mentioned it on one of the previous streams as well, that like your average Muslim is still going to believe this stuff. It's just the Dawah guys who have dropped it. But your average Muslim, they're still going to be using these arguments because, you know, like, because that works even for the Dawah guys. Like, they need to keep saying something over and over again for their people to get it. So they might have like denounced an argument or stopped using it, but that's not going to like go down to, it's not going to be like, you know, they just stop using the argument. So it doesn't mean like everybody who's ever heard the video in the past from the Muslim, like of the scientific miracles or whatever, or the preservation, those videos are still up. Like, Muslims don't just like, oh, this is a bad argument, so we're going to delete our videos where we talked about that. Like, their videos are still, you know, getting millions of views. So your average Muslim is still going to believe that there's only one Quran. And that's what I did was I reviewed a debate at Speaker's Corner between Bob and some Muslim, Arabic speaking Muslim. And I was pointing out that even amongst the Arabic speaking Muslims, they still, even though they speak Arabic, they can read Arabic, this guy was still arguing there's only one Quran. And he had a group of other Arabs with him, and they were arguing there's only one Quran. So yeah, like David said, in order to get this stuff out there, you guys have the information, you guys have everything you need to fight it. We just gotta do it. So this one's for David in a Mojab voice.
Why do they call it crucifixion? Not crucifact. You have been discombobulated and intellectually molested.
Yeah, that's something that I could actually see him saying. I could actually see him saying that. Oh boy. All right. Wait, what? Is AP going live? AP?
Yeah, he messaged me like, "Hey, I want to go live at 6:30." It's like, "Yeah, I'll be on with Jai and Anthony, too bad." And he's like, "Well, then I will go live at 8." And I didn't have the heart to tell him that I'm going live with Chris Claus.
Oh, man. Hey, David, you said you didn't have the heart to do something. What's going on there?
In reality, I just think it will be massively funnier and teach him a lesson about disappearing for weeks and then coming back and acting like he can just jump right into everyone's live streams again.
Okay.
Learn your lesson, buddy.
Oh man. So there's like this option for like redirecting streams. So I redirected this stream to Chris Claus's stream, which is on One Way Apologetics. And so you guys can see David on there. But I guess AP is going to be going live at the same time, and about an hour from now. So just saw that. All right. I don't think that Khamenei wasn't by definition murdered, and I wouldn't mock the murder of a person. That's why I wouldn't say I did something wrong. Yes, the Lord isn't pleasured by his death, but can't we be happy? Okay, so that's person.
I think, if I could just say, in order for that to hold together, I think the person, Little Russia, meant to say, I don't think Khamenei was by definition murdered, rather than wasn't. I don't know. I just the way that needs to read in order to make sense seems to me like that's probably what was meant. Like, in other words, I wouldn't mock somebody who's murdered, right? Like,
okay, yeah. So like murdering someone is like, I'm killing you to take your money or something like that. Not
like justice.
Not killing a terrorist, right?
Yeah.
Like Osama bin Laden was killed. Wouldn't say they murdered Osama bin Laden.
Oh, right.
So I think that kind of what happens here is people might be transferring the celebration, the grounds for celebration, from one thing to another. In other words, Khomeini was obviously a bad guy. He created all kinds of problems for the people that were under his thumb. So there's reason for rejoicing now that he's gone, right? So the question is whether one can start celebrating this man, dying, right? In other words, it's one thing to be happy that nobody's suffering under his hand anymore. It's another thing to be saying, I'm delighted he's in hell.
Oh, yeah.
And part of the tension there is because the Christian naturally should be desiring this person's conversion rather than that he die and go to hell. At the same time, some people are going to die and do so without having repented. And so what's the right response to that? And, I think what we were saying before is just in general, I mean, you shouldn't be delighting that your enemy, has been brought down. Instead, you should mourn for that person, generally speaking. But I do think Scripture has some exceptions where, there are certain people that were decidedly, fixedly, as it were, enemies, and their downfall is cause for rejoicing.
Yeah.
I think that's what you see in Revelation, where it's like the beast is the beast, which is symbolic, whatever your eschatological view, it's symbolic of something, and people are rejoicing over his defeat.
Yeah, it's like even it reminds me of like even when there's like a murderer that's being put to death, like chemically put to death or something like that. Like they put on TV and you watch it and stuff like that. But it's like, in a sense, you feel like there's justice, but there's also something that you do, even though like you still kind of feel that in your heart a little bit, that like this guy is it's not like you don't get like pleasure out of the fact that they're killing them and stuff like that. But it's like it's kind of like this. Yeah, you do kind of feel like there's like, okay, this guy murdered a bunch of people, and then there's like, you're kind of just watching them slowly die on the TV, and it's just kind of a weird kind of situation. So yeah, I think that's how. I don't know if that's what this person's feeling, but yeah, that's all right. So we covered that one. So Proverbs 31 is written as an alphabetical. Oh yeah. This is another thing. I don't know if you wanted to cover.
The acrostics are pretty cool.
Yeah, this is the acrostics, and I know like in Limitations, like it was like every like 3 verses, like it's like aleph, 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 bait, 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 gimel, gimel, gimel. Like it goes in alphabetical order for like by 3s in like Limitations. So you do have those kind of things that aren't really like translatable in terms of like when you translate it into another language, you kind of miss that. But if you go to the original in the Hebrew, I'm sure the Greek is the same, where in certain places as well, where it's like either there's like a rhyme or there's like a pattern like that.
So. Yeah. Psalm 119 is the most impressive. So that's the longest chapter in the Bible. It has 22 sections of 8 verses each. Mm-hmm. So 22 sections. There's 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and each section, the 8 verses in each section all begin with a different letter, right? So the first 8 verses, the first section, all begin with an aleph, the first letter. The next set of 8 verses all begin with the bet, the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet, all the way through, right? Aleph, bet, gimel, dalet, hey, and so forth, all the way to the end. That's impressive, right? Even try and do that in English. You can't, like you said, you can't translate that. If you're going to preserve the sense, you can't translate it, because you're not going to get words in the host or the new language, the target language, that have words with the same meanings beginning with the same letters like that, right? You also have, there's a bunch of acrostics in the Bible. Psalms 9 and 10 are considered by some to be originally one psalm, because the one completes an acrostic that is begun in the other. And so yeah, it's a pretty cool features.
I just want to show
blow Ali Dawa's mind.
Yeah. I just want to show this one real quick. Limitations chapter 3. So if you go to the Hebrew, like the first, like here's verses 1 through 3. All of these are aleph, and then verses 4 through 6, bait, and then next three, you know, Gimel, and it goes all the way. I just highlighted these ones just now, but it goes the entire, like the next one, hey, Vav, 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 and it just goes all the way. So it's really cool. It's like every 3 verses is a letter, and you keep going all the way down to the letter Tav. So
Now,
1, 2, 3.
By the way, so in certain arrangements of the Bible, there's different orders, and there's some argument to be made for which one is the proper order. Some would say there isn't one. It's just, you know, convention. But Proverbs 31 is all about the virtuous woman. So you've got the acrostic there. Well, the only woman who's actually called that in the Bible is Ruth, which happens to be the next book in many standard orders of the Hebrew Bible, who is, of course, the mother of King David, who is, of course, the father of the Messiah.
Wow. That's really cool. So thank you, Jack. All right, we got member for 6 months. Whoa, I didn't even know we had members for 6 months. I guess this must be our we must be 6 months now having memberships. Thank you so much.
A minute.
Yeah, wow. And 2 months. We got 2 months. Thank you so much for that. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Jai needs to start with Dark Side of the Moon. Oh, this is song suggestions, and work his way up to the wall. Okay. So
yeah, the wall has some of the best songs of all time on it, but even though, and it's double length, but even though the Dark Side of the Moon is it's like a perfect album. If you look up, I'm sure if you looked up the best albums of all time, Dark Side of the Moon would. I'd probably have it number 1 or something like that.
Okay. So that's suggestion there. All right.
You're thinking, who cares about any of this, Jai? This is all part of your education. You can't.
Yeah, I'm
can't be rolling with me.
I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to learn. So Judith,
next thing you know, you're gonna see Jai and DOC having Pink Floyd on repeat.
Judith, thank you so much for that. And then you sent a super chat here. The truth walks slowly, but never misses its road. Lies run fast, but always miss their mark. Yes. Yeah, we cannot do anything against the truth, as the Word of God says. Only for it. Most strongest position in the desert with Al-Zud. Yeah, that's Jack Ray there. Yeah. Strongest evidence for Islam, strongest position is with Al-Zud. Okay. Will you be answering the number 19 stuff? I mean, David and I did a stream with these guys, and we did like talk to them about it, and there was a lot of it was like when I would I think it was like 3 different times I would like challenge to the point where he was like, well, we don't actually need that because we have so many other things. And that happened like 2 or 3 times before I just kind of gave up on like just but yeah, so I mean the 19 stuff, what do you think, Anthony? I mean, because you know, you could probably come with a really cool parallel to that. And I'd probably have to see more people using it. Because when I was getting started, it was very, very common to hear people talking about the miracle of the number 19 and so on. But this was back in the 1990s. Okay.
And just doesn't seem like many people are still using it. Like you have the submitters, and you have Shabir Ali. But yeah, if you go back to like the 1990s and early 2000s, you had just regular Muslims using this argument and so on.
Yeah. So one thing is they have to play fast and loose with what they think grounds the idea that 19 is supposed to be special anyways, right?
Yeah.
If you look at Surah 74:30, which is what they point to, it's not saying anything like what they're talking about. It says over it are 19. So the claim of Rashad Khalifa is that it is the proof, right? This is the proof that Allah has given that this book is his book. But it's talking about the angels over hell. Right? That's what the verse is talking about. You don't find any of the tafsirs saying this refers to a mathematical pattern within the Quran. Right? That was purely invented by him. But then when you look at what he did, this was the grounds for him to, in order for the miracle to hold up, that it would have this pattern, he had to get rid of Surah 9, 128 and 129, because something broke the pattern. And if you get rid of those two verses, well, then now you have the pattern. But the pattern is supposed to prove that the Quran has been preserved, but he's using this to prove, well, no, these verses have been added. It hasn't been preserved, right? And once you have to do that
as well, that became more important than the Quran itself, because that determines what the Quran is.
Yeah. And so once you can do that, though, can't I prove anything is a mathematical miracle? I'll just say, this number is important. And if you point out that it falters because it's one off, then I'll just say, okay, this verse, I don't like this verse. Get rid of that. Mathematical miracle restored, right? That's what they're doing. And who's supposed to be impressed by that? Now, the one thing I will say is impressive. I don't remember the exact year that Rashad Khalifa was killed. He was killed by another Muslim who killed him because he claimed the Quran had been tampered with, if I recall that detail correctly. But
he was also claiming to be someone special, like getting revelations from God and so on.
Yeah, but he was killed on the 19th of June, whichever year that was. So there you go.
Hey, okay. Anthony, when now keep in mind we got along really well with these guys. They're way cooler. I wish there were way more of these guys than of the jihadis and the Dawah clowns and stuff like that. Why? They're not trying to kill us at all. They have a sense of humor when we're running our mouths and stuff like that. So they're super cool. But wait, what were you just talking about? I forgot where I was going.
I mentioned
the 19th. Assassinated on the 19th.
Oh yeah. So after they gave their presentation at the very end, I go, either this is just like a random number and Allah is showing how He's using it in all these ways, or there's a point to it. So to test this, I think we should go to the 19th surah and the 19th verse, which is about the birth of Jesus. So
that must be where Hatun got it. We were on the other day and she mentioned Surah 19 verse 19.
I'm trying to I heard that from someone else back in the day because we did a show. I think it might have been Thaddeus. I'm not sure. It might have been Thaddeus, but Thaddeus is a math guy, and I know he was doing a bunch of stuff. He did a bunch of mathematical number 19 miracles from the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
Okay.
But sometime around that point, I went to Surah 19 verse 19 and started using it.
He also did a 666 one for the Quran. But he told me about it after the stream with the submitters. I would have loved to use that. He found some sort of 666 thing with the Quran.
And notice, by the way, that just how this refutes Islam twice over, because if Thaddeus did this with, I'm just thinking of the Book of Mormon here, he's showing that you have this pattern there, which when Muslims are seeing what they think are patterns in the Quran, they're saying this is proof of its inspiration. Well, then it would prove the Book of Mormon. But the Book of Mormon is a translation, right? Allegedly, right? We don't think the claims are true, but the point is, it was originally in a mythical language called Reformed Egyptian. So what you get is a pattern in a translation of it, which isn't the original. In which case, it just seems to me like if you can even have it in a book that doesn't reflect exactly what the original had, then twice over it looks bad for Islam.
Yeah. Speaking about that, by the way, I mentioned this on the channel before, but we wanted to get someone who's like the best like apologist to the Mormons, or like whoever's like a great apologist to the Mormons, and then have them debate David on who's the most obvious false prophet. Like, is it Joseph Smith or is it Muhammad? Because a lot of people who study Mormonism say, well, he is, and then we think Muhammad is. And I think that would just be a great opportunity for just everyone to just showcase why these are both the false prophets, and then let the audience decide, who is the most obvious false prophet. But then in doing so, you get to learn a bunch of stuff about like what makes them false prophets and how to, So
those are fun debates.
We haven't got a taker on it yet, though. But someone suggested
that one needs to be done. But one that's going to happen before that is me debating Mary Harb.
Oh.
And the topic is Islam more gay or pedophilic?
Oh. So it's like
I'll take either one. I'll take either one on that one. And so it's going to be a situation where and so we can conclude that Islam is definitely gay, and then like whoever's responding will be, yes, there's no dispute between us that Islam is indeed very gay, but compared to how pedophilic it is, and then go back and forth.
Jai, were you present for the great toilet bowl debate way back with Royal Sun and others? It had something to do with Islam, and I can't remember the connection. But we were debating.
I think I've heard it referenced. Also, there was like a variant of pizza or something like that. There's a pizza one.
Maybe we were debating which way the water goes down in the toilet in Australia or New Zealand, and I mean I don't know if you've ever heard this, but people will say it goes a different direction than it does in our hemisphere.
No way.
But so we were having a debate about it. It was all theoretical. None of it had anything to do with actual, physical observation or anything. We were just making hypothetical arguments, and we were making fun of Muslims. I can't remember the connection. I thought maybe somebody, if you were there for that, because you were there in those days, you might remember what it was.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I
think maybe just like parroting Muslim style argumentation, but just like using it for like the dumbest positions. That's always fun to do. All right, we got it's our friend Radical Moderate, also from the Pal Talk days. After hearing the middle miracle, I was ready to take my shahada, but then Anthony convinced me that Jai and David were prophets. All right, so you lost him, then you won him back. All right, all right. What are you doing in Sam Shamoon's kitchen? Or you instead stole his microwave? Oh,
I'm in the same room I'm always in. Not in the kitchen, man. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, it is making me hungry though.
Yeah.
But
another member here for 6 months. Thank you so much for that. God bless you. In Mexico, and I just met a guy named Diego Cigara. He told me the truth about you, David.
Hey, my cousin Diego. It's my cousin Diego and Dora and our monkey friend Boots.
I came here to have a good argument with David. Okay. House of Hikmah.
Who cares? House of Hikmah. Get some Hikmah. If you had a drop of Hikmah, you wouldn't want to be debating me.
So guys, what do we want to do? I think we had enough of the greatest evidences for Islam, and we just went through the super chats. So did I see, Anthony, that you have a stream tonight, or was that another? Yeah, is it tonight as well? You have a stream tonight?
Yeah, at 9 o'clock.
Okay, Okay, so David's going live at 8 with Chris at One Way Apologetics, and you're going live at 9. Okay, so all right. So anything you guys want to shout out or let people know what to look out for before we wrap up here?
Well, I'll just say we have heard what apparently is Islam's best after taking a shellacking over the past several years, and it turns out to be that the word middle appears somewhere in Surah 2, not exactly in the middle, but around there in the vicinity. And if it appeared somewhere else in the middle, that would have been significant. But since it doesn't appear somewhere else in the middle, that's not significant. We ignore that. And at the end of the day, Pink Floyd did it first. Or no, he didn't do it first, but I'd say he did it better. First in the sense of priority or preeminence. Pink Floyd trumps the Quran.
It's funny that was the first thing that Sonny said. He's like, so you're saying it's just like this thing that other humans have done. Like, all right. So what's going on with you, David? You got stream with Chris. What are you guys doing? Dawah drama stuff?
Hold up.
All right.
Let me see.
Oh, yeah. I think it is Dawah drama.
I know what he said a couple of days ago, but I don't know if he changed it. Let's see. Dawah drama. Oh, yeah, he's got Malik up there.
Uh-oh.
All right. Yep. Wanted to talk about some of the latest Malik stuff. But look who we got on there. We got Orthoduck Lips. We got the Warner behind him. Ooh, don't want the Warner behind you, buddy. Get out of there. Get out of there, Orthodox Lips, while you still can. And then we got Malik in a cop hat.
Uh-oh. He's snitching.
Yeah, so talking about whatever Chris wants to talk about, but it is a fun topic. So yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff, man. And as far as this topic, yeah, guys, we're dealing with compulsive liars, chronic compulsive liars who believe that if they lie to you to get you into their religion, it's justified because, you know, you're going to be spending eternity deflowering virgins. Are you going to be complaining that they lied to you in order to get you in there? Of course not. And so they believe that lying is justified. But sadly, lots of human beings will fall for that because they don't know. People don't always know. People usually don't know that when this guy's saying, oh, did you know that the miracle in the middle? Oh, my goodness. They don't realize what nonsense this is. And they think these guys are, you know, people who should be trusted and so on. And people have been programmed that, well, you can't object to anything that a Muslim says, because if you do, then you're an Islamophobe and a racist. And so you just got to roll with it. And what that means, guys, we just got our work cut out for us. We have to keep just relentlessly going after this nonsense and continue exposing them as liars until it's caught on that you cannot under any circumstances trust these guys. These are the biggest bunch of liars the world has ever seen. I spent years in prison. Anthony's been to prison. We have never seen people who lie this freely, with as little concern for consequences as the Dawah guys.
All right, guys. So we all got our work cut out for us. Let's we got Neo. Thank you for the 20 gifted memberships. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, guys, pray that everything, all these streams go well. I saw there's a bunch of other streams happening tonight too, even IP. So we gotta stream. You know what we gotta do? We really gotta do that that big meeting where we all kind of like work on a schedule, because I think there's like tons.
There's tons of overlap. It's like unavoidable now. So
yeah, so we'll have to do that. But yeah, all right, guys. So that's the stream for today. And we want to thank you guys all for being here. And Islam is false and Jesus is Lord. So thank you guys. We'll see you guys on the next stream.